Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about finding morel mushrooms. If you guys who don't know, morel mushrooms are, we'll put up a picture here. They look kind of like a Christmas tree, but we'll put up a picture here and show you exactly what they look like. We'll put this up a few times in the video. Okay, so for you guys who've never hunted for morels, these are some of the best mushrooms that you can find to eat. They're a little bit tough to find, so I wanted to give a few tips and stuff like that. But these are excellent mushrooms, and they spring up about the time spring turkey season is going on. So whenever I'm out turkey hunting, I always do a little bit of shed hunting while I'm out there, and I also look for morels while I'm out there. There's nothing quite like a wild turkey and morel dinner, or freshly caught crappie and morel dinner. So fry these things up. There's a lot of good recipes for these things online, and you'll be really surprised at how good these things taste. There's a lot of really good edible mushrooms out there, but morels, the challenge of finding them and just the overall taste is why I like to hunt for morels. So I thought I'd give you guys a few tips on how to find morels. They spring up from early April to mid-June. Temperature's really going to affect quite a bit on these mushrooms. The thing you want to look for is you want to look for dead or dying elms. You also want to look for old apple orchards, old ash trees, poplar and pine. Those are going to be the areas where your morels are going to grow the best. The weather's going to have a big factor on mushrooms and where these things grow, just like any mushrooms. The daytime highs for morels are going to be 60 to 70, unlike some of the other mushrooms that like it in about the 80-degree range. You want your nighttime lows to be in the mid-40s. If it gets any lower than that, they're not gonna spring up, not gonna do very well. Too much rain is gonna have a negative effect, and too little rain is gonna have a negative effect. I seem to have the most luck finding them when the rain's kind of over and the humidity is real high. So you need a moderate amount of rain, and a good high humidity seems to be the best. Soil temperature, you want the soil temperature to be between 50 and 60 degrees. So that's gonna help. That's gonna kind of give you a good idea of when the temperature is going to be right, when the soil temperature is going to be right, and what kind of weather these things are going to grow in. But look for the trees. That's the biggest things. Dead or dying elms, old apple orchards, ash trees, poplar and pine. It's going to be a good indication that there's morels going to be in there. And that's not always true. I mean, you have to have morels in your region, and your region is going to be a lot different than around here. We have a lot of poplar and pine, not a lot of ash, not a lot of elm. You know, there's mostly oak trees around here, at least in where I hunt, in southwest Missouri. So Oklahoma, we have mostly oak trees. So which is really good for deer hunting, but for morels it makes them really tough to find. Some areas that have a lot of these trees, you'll be able to go out and just find them pretty easily. So but those are the kind of trees you want to look for, but just like anything, that's not a dead giveaway there's going to be morels there. So the trees and your weather factor is going to play a big part in being able to find these things. Equipment's pretty minimal when it comes to hunting morels. You need a bag to carry them in, and a lot of people recommend an onion sack or a feed sack or something with a good mesh bag. And the reason they suggest this is, one, it's breathable, I guess, and two, they think as you're walking along, the spores off the mushrooms will fall off. At least I think that's the theory behind it, and that it'll produce more mushrooms next year. Comfortable boots, I recommend snake boots. I've got a pair of boots on here, which I probably won't be able to get them up high enough for you guys to see them, but a good pair of snake boots that come up to your knee, like the lacrosse boots that I'm wearing, is what I recommend when you're going out doing this. I wear these lacrosse boots when I'm turkey hunting, because that's about the time of year the snakes are going to start coming out, and if you're going to be out hunting for morel mushrooms, you're going to want a pair of snake boots on, or something. You can get something else, but I recommend a good pair of snake boots to protect yourself, especially if you're in an area where there's a lot of poisonous snakes running around, you know, stuff like that. So tick spray, you definitely want some tick spray. Anytime you go out in the woods in the spring, summertime, you're going to want some tick spray on you. So timing when to pick these things. If you go up on morels and you find them and they're real little and they look fresh as a daisy, look like they've just started popping up, then you're going to want to leave them alone for a little bit. They're not quite ready. They're going to grow a little bit more, and they're going to get a little bit bigger. If they start to look like they're deteriorating, start to look kind of black and kind of look like they're bruised, that's the time to pick them. If they get a little bit further on, they start getting some bad spots in them, you can go ahead and still pick them at that point. and you just want to cut those bad parts off when you go to eat them. They're still fine to eat as long as they're not deteriorated too far. But that's the time to eat them, to pick them best, is when they start getting that kind of bruised, purple look to them. It's kind of when you want to start picking them. If they get those bad spots, don't worry, you can still pick them then. But definitely wait. If you get out there and it's that big and you can just start kind of telling it's a morel, just mark it on your GPS, mark it on your map, mark it in your mind, whatever you need to do, and give it a few days and come back and check on them then. And the way to pick them is to pinch and twist at the base of the stem. You want to leave the roots and you want to leave the dirt. You want to leave it, I've heard a couple different reasons. One, you don't want the roots and dirt in your bag. It's just a mess. And two, I've heard a lot of people say that if you leave the roots and you leave the you know, a little bit of it there, that they're going to grow back next year. And I've found that that's not always true. I know a lot of people who have consistent morel patches where they go and they'll find morels every year, but they kind of have a life expectancy in these areas. You know, it seems like they're really good for 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer, maybe less. But and then all of a sudden you're not finding morels there anymore, and it can kind of change from year to year. You know, one year you can go out there and there'll be morels as far as the eye can see, and the next year nothing, and then you go back again the next year, and on the third year they're back again. So it's kind of hit and miss is where they go. But I always keep a GPS and mark down locations where I find them, because if you found them there once, it's worth going back and looking again. A lot of times where I found them once, I've found them again, or really close to that area, because if you found them when they're once, the environment's right and the conditions are right in that area to find morels. So definitely give this a shot while you're out turkey hunting this spring, or if you just kind of get bored and want something to do, this is a definitely fun thing to do, is get out there and look for these morels. They're good eating. It's a fun activity to get out of the house, and it's kind of it's a challenge, really is, to be good at this and find a lot of morels. Lord knows I'm not good at it. I find a few here and there, and I really haven't tried very much in the last few years, but I plan on getting out and finding some this year to go along with the turkey that me and T-Mac are going to put down. So that's some tips on finding morels. If you do a little bit of search on the internet, you'll find some really good websites dedicated just to morels. One of them is called thegreatmorel.com, and morel is spelled M-O-R-E-L. So you can try that, check them out, thegreatmorel.com. They got a lot of really good information on there, and a lot of really good links to other sites that specialize in just morels, give you some good tips, some good recipes on how to cook these things. So just like anything, if you don't cook it right, it ain't going to taste good. So good recipes on there, really good tips, like I said, and that's thegreatmorel.com. And if you just go to Google and do a search for morel mushrooms, you may find some other sites that are equally as good. For information on about trees, these kind of trees, you can look these up in your conservation websites. There's websites out there again. Just Google identification of trees, and you'll find some sites out there that are dedicated to how to identify these trees. If you can find a Forestry Service website, that'll show you. And it'll also, they provide good maps on some of these sites about what kind of trees you have in your area. So you can find a lot of good information. You do a little bit of research. It's really going to up your chances of finding these morel mushrooms. So if you go out there just kind of blind, you may get lucky, but if you keep some of these tips in mind and get a little bit of information off the website, I think your chances will be quite a bit more. So that's some of the tips I have on finding morels. And if you guys start finding some, I'd like to see some pictures of them and see some and hear some feedback on this, and just maybe share some recipes or something like that. You can check us out at ikesoutdoors.com. You can hit the contact us page, and you can email me through that, or you can email me directly at ikesoutdoors@yahoo.com, or Facebook. We got 2 pages on there. Ike's Outdoors fan page on there, and then my personal page. So you can check those out on Facebook and get in touch with us that way. So we really appreciate you guys watching these videos. We've got a lot more good product reviews coming up here in the next few weeks, and then it's going to be on to turkey season. So once turkey season starts rolling in, product reviews will stop, and me and T-Mac are going to be hitting the field after some turkeys. So here pretty quick, I'm going to do a little video on my turkey calls that I use and my setup for turkey hunting, so keep an eye out for that. So get out there, find you some morels while you're turkey hunting, find you some sheds, and let me know what you find. Appreciate you guys watching.